So make yourself really comfortable or really cozy in a position that you've chosen to lie down in. That might be with straight legs or bent legs. It might be lying on your side or on your front. And once you've had a good wriggle and a good shuffle, bringing yourself into stillness. Closing your eyes or looking softly at the ceiling. Checking you're not clenching your jaw. Taking a slight gap between your teeth with your tongue lying heavy on the base of your mouth. Connecting with your breath. So noticing, observing your breath as it enters and leaves your nose. Becoming aware of your inhale, a slight pause, your exhale, and the still point. And not just now, but during the whole class, I'd love you to really focus your awareness on your breath. Your breath is your best guide for whether or not you need to back off a little, take a rest, take a break before joining back in again. We want our breath to be steady, free-flowing, comfortable. And that goes even when we're doing the more challenging poses like the warrior sequence we've been working with and dolphin pose. So if you find your breath is getting a little ragged and restricted, then just back off, take a rest whenever you need to. So from here, we're going to come into some pelvic tilts. I'll do these with you. You want to just wriggle your fingers and toes and then bend your knees, standing your feet roughly hip width apart. So feet and knees hip width apart and arms down by the sides of the body. Softening your lower back and the lower ribs towards the floor. And then rolling the weight forwards across your buttocks towards your tailbone, arching your lower back away from the floor. Imagining that your pelvis is a little bit like a rocking chair or a rolling pin. And we're just rolling forwards and backwards. I like to exhale as I soften the lower back and the lower ribs towards the floor. And I like to inhale as I roll the weight forwards across my buttocks towards my tailbone, arching the lower back away from the floor. Can you make this movement easy, comfortable, free-flowing? So if it feels a little jittery jerky, maybe you want to slow the movement down a little. And then do you notice that that movement ripples all the way through your spine to your neck and head? Maybe you notice the movement ripples all the way down through your legs into your feet and toes. So as I soften my lower back towards the floor, the feet get a little heavier. And as I roll the weight forwards across my buttocks towards my tailbone, my feet get a little lighter. But what is it that you notice? The next time you soften your lower back towards the floor, we're going to use that press of the feet, the contact of the feet into the floor to roll up through your buttocks, lower back, middle back towards your upper back as you reach the arms up to the ceiling and all the way over by your ears. And as you roll back down through your spine, reaching the hands back up to the ceiling and back down by the sides of the body. I'm inhaling as I roll up, one vertebra of my spine at a time. And I exhale as I lower back down. Imagining that your spine is like a bicycle chain or a piece of sellotape, and it is rolling up one little section at a time and rolling down one little section at a time. But if you feel like there's big chunks of your spine lifting and lowering, that's fine too. The next time your bottom and your arms come down by the sides of your body, we'll take the arms out to shoulder height to the sides. And from here, as you take your knees over to the right hand side, I want you to look towards the left arm. And then we'll bring your knees and your head to look towards the ceiling, and we'll take your knees to look to the left-hand side as you turn to look towards your right arm. Bringing your knees and your head back towards the ceiling. So I like to exhale as I take the knees over to the right and turn to look towards the left arm. And I like to inhale as I draw my belly and my head back towards the ceiling, but see what works best for you. I'm exhaling the knees to the side, looking the opposite way to the knees, and inhaling back through center. I'd love for you to take one more of those in both directions. Let's come back through center. You're in no hurry, take a few moments longer if you need to. Catching hold of your shins, your knees, and giving yourself a rock from side to side until you roll all the way onto your side. And pressing your top hand into the floor, sliding the top leg away from you. We're going to roll up into sitting or kneeling. Choice is yours. Let's circle our wrists in one direction, noticing how our wrists are feeling today. And then circling your wrists in the opposite direction. And then interlacing your hands and lifting and lowering your elbows. So the forearms are close towards each other. And then swap the direction. Now taking your palms apart to stretch the tops of the wrists. Let's roll over onto all fours. So because we're going to be kneeling a little bit for a few minutes, if you want a blanket or a cushion under your knees, please go ahead and slide a blanket or a cushion under your knees. Let's take a moment to check in with neutral. So we've got the head in line with our heart and our pelvis. We've got these lovely curves of the lower back and your neck. So we know that this is neutral. We're going to move away from neutral as we come into our cow pose, lifting the tailbone, softening the belly to the floor, lifting with the chest, collarbones, neck and head into the spinal extension. Little back bend here. We'll come back through neutral, head in line with the heart and the pelvis once more. And then let's tuck the tailbone, lifting your lower back, middle back, upper back, coming into this spinal flexion here as we round the spine, looking in between the knees. Coming back through neutral. Working as slowly or as quickly as feels good for you. Lifting your tailbone, softening the belly, lifting forwards with the chest, the neck and the head into your cow pose. And then tucking the tailbone and lifting the lower back, middle back, upper back, rounding your spine into your cat pose. How is your back feeling today? Let's take one more of those. We'll take the hands a little further forwards and then lowering your belly, your chest and your head down towards the floor. So with your chin or your head on the floor, let's just take a couple of shoulder circles here. The shoulders forwards, up, back and down. And then let's circle the shoulders in the opposite direction, taking them back, up, forwards and down. Okay, now as we lift into our back bends, into our seal pose, we want to keep the shoulders rolling back and down. So for a moment, hunch your shoulders up by your ears and then press your hands into the floor as you lift with the head, the chest and the ribs a little. And see how that probably doesn't feel great for your shoulders or your back. Now, we want to avoid that in all of our subsequent back bends. We want to keep the shoulders more neutral or rolling down away from the ears. So as you reach your toes behind you, sending your tailbone behind you, squeeze your bum a little, and whenever you find your inhale filling your lungs and ribs, we're going to press through the hands to lift up into a back bend. And as you exhale, we're going to roll back down towards the floor. Hands are pushing into the floor, pubic bones pushing into the floor, feet are pushing into the floor, but the shoulders stay in this relaxed, neutral position. Sorry, I've got a hair in my mouth. Let's do a couple more of those back bends. Whenever you find your inhale, pressing through the hands, keeping the shoulders in a neutral position. Exhaling, rolling back down. And one more. The next time you lower down, can you take your hands under your shoulders and push up back to all fours? And from all fours, sending your bum back towards your heels and your head towards the floor so that you're in a child's pose. Take a couple of breaths in this position here. And then pushing through the hands to lift back up to all fours once more. And we're going to lift opposite arm and leg, so no higher than shoulder and hip height into our tiger cat. We're going to lift opposite arm and leg and then lower them down. As you inhale, lifting opposite arm and leg, and as you exhale, lowering down. As you inhale, lifting opposite arm and leg, and as you exhale, lowering down. So again, working with your own breath, you might be moving slower or quicker than I am. And you're not trying to reach any higher than shoulder or hip height. The next time you have an arm and a leg lifted, make sure it's the opposite arm and leg. Let's hold there for 5 breaths, or thereabouts. So watch your breath as it enters and leaves your body. Finding that neutral spine, head in line with your heart and your pelvis. Whenever you next exhale, let's lower the arm and the leg, and then lifting the opposite side. Opposite arm and leg to shoulder and hip height, and holding for roughly 5 breaths. You're really noticing that strength required in the whole of your core to keep the balance here, looking down at the floor. Whenever you next exhale, let's lower the hand and the foot. So we want the hands and the knees hip width, shoulder width once more. Let's tuck the toes and lift your knees away from the floor, sending your bottom up towards the ceiling and towards the back of the room. So this is our downward dog. Having a little walk on the spot here, bending one knee and encouraging the other heel closer to the floor. And then let's both bend both knees and walk both hands back towards your feet at the back edge of the mat. Let the head be heavy, arms are heavy, and you want to really push your feet into the floor so that you slowly roll all the way up into standing, one vertebra of the spine at a time. I'm going to take my socks off now, so I've got a better grip for these standing poses. You might like to do the same if you've got your socks on, if you're not too cold. So we're going to take a couple of neck and shoulder stretches here. If you take your feet under your hips, let's find our neutral spine once more, head in line with the heart and the pelvis. We're going to turn to look over the right shoulder, and we'll come back through center. And then we'll turn to look over the left shoulder. And coming back through center. Once more to both sides, turning to look over the right shoulder. And back through center. And turning to look over the left shoulder. And back through center. And then taking your right ear down towards the right shoulder, bringing your head back through center. And taking the left ear down towards the left shoulder. And bringing your head back through center. So we're trying to keep your shoulders level. And we're just stretching the side of the neck here as we take one ear over to the shoulder and back through center. And then the other ear over to the shoulder. And back through center. And then finally tucking the chin in towards your chest and taking some little semicircles here with the chin round towards one shoulder and then back through center before moving around towards the other shoulder. How is the back of your neck feeling? Let's come back through center and let's take some big shoulder circles here. Taking your shoulders forwards, up, back and down. Taking the shoulders forwards and up and back and down, and one more. And just ignore any creaking, cracking and pops. You're in good company if you notice any noises. Let's reverse the circles, taking the shoulders back, up, forwards and down. Back, up, forwards and down, and one more. Great, maybe giving the arms a little shake here. So I love that little sequence when I've been at the computer for a long time. I might just take that as a kind of 3 or 4 minute sequence to work with the head and neck and shoulders. And then finding this neutral spine once more, head over my heart and my pelvis, so that I'm reminding my body, my nervous system, that I'm not just in this position all of the time, but that I have this position available to me, and I have this position, I have this position available to me. We want to be able to move our spine with freedom and ease in all the directions it wants to be able to move them. So from here, we are going to do a little bit of challenging balance work we've not done before, but it's still in the same idea of this Warrior 3 pose. We're using a kind of counterbalance so that we can bring ourselves back through center. So reminding ourselves of the tripods of the feet, we've got the center of the heels, the balls of the feet, the big toe, and the little toe edges. I'm going to lean into my right foot. I'm going to take my hands to my heart, and I'm going to bend the left knee in towards my belly and my chest. So we've done this before. Let's place the foot down on the floor, and you can stay with this version if it's in a few. We're going to go the same side again. So we anchor the right foot into the floor. I'm looking at something steady on the wall of the floor. I bend the left knee in towards my chest. And maybe I kick the left leg out to the side and then bring the left knee back in towards the chest, and I lower the foot down. We're going to do that one more time. So anchoring the weight into the right foot, bend the left knee into the chest. You can even reach the arms out to the side to help with that counterbalancing if you like. And then bring the hands and the knee back in before placing the foot down. Same thing other side. So let's anchor into that left foot through the center of the heel, the ball of the foot, the big toe, and little toe edge. We're going to bend the right knee in towards your chest. Again, finding that length through the spine, that neutral spine. It's helping us to find that spaciousness above. And then we place the right foot down. So we're really anchoring down through the leg and the foot, and finding this lift and lightness up through the torso, neck, and head. So as we bend the right knee in towards the belly and the chest, maybe you kick the right leg out to the right hand side. You bring the right knee back in, and then you lower the right foot down. So you notice that I have to lean over to the side a little, and that's because I'm counterbalancing, so it's okay if you're doing that too. Final time, we bend the right knee in towards the belly. You can stay here, or you can reach the arms out to the side as you kick that right leg out to the side. We'll bend the right knee back in. We'll lower the foot down, we'll lower the arms down. So I want from here to come into some high lunges. I'm going to step this right foot forwards and the left foot back, so I'm mirroring you here. And you can see that I've got my feet roughly hip width, so I'm not in a tightrope wire. I'm helping my balance by having the feet a few inches apart. The right knee is bent and I've got the hands on the hips. I'm going to lean forwards, keeping that neutral spine, head in line with the heart and the pelvis, and then I push through the right foot to lift myself back up through standing. I'm going to tap my left knee towards the right hand, and then I'm going to step back into a lunge once more. So the left foot reaching back, and I'm going to repeat that twice more. So I fall forwards, head in line with the heart and the pelvis, into this leaning high lunge, and then I take all the weight forwards into the right foot, tap right hand to left knee, step the left ball of the foot back, high lunge once more, and final time. Leaning forwards, head in line with the heart and the pelvis, push that right foot into the floor to lift me back up, and tap right hand to left knee. Let's lower the left foot down, and we'll step the right foot behind. So we're on the ball of the back right foot, hands on the hips. I'm exhaling as I lean forwards, and I'm inhaling up into my high lunge. I'm exhaling, taking opposite hand to right knee. Inhaling, stepping the foot back, trying to look at something steady rather than a wobbling knee. Let's exhale forwards, and inhale to push up. Exhale, right knee to left hand. Inhale, step the right foot back. And one more time. Exhaling forwards, inhaling up. Exhale, opposite hand to knee, left hand, right knee. Inhale, step it back. And then exhale, let's step the feet together, lowering the arms down. Let's take a couple of hip circles here. So again, we want to find this freedom in the pelvis. We want to find the connection of the pelvis to the spine. Let's circle in the opposite direction. We want our breath to be easy, comfortable, free-flowing. So you can always just skip some of the repetitions if you want to make this a little easier. From here, let's take, so I'm still mirroring you. You can kind of flip yourself around depending on which way your camera is. I'm going to step back with my left foot so that my right hip, right knee, right toes, they're all tracking in line with each other. So again, you can choose how wide your stance is. You can take a longer stance, it's going to challenge you more. You can take a shorter stance, it's going to be a bit less effort for the legs. You can take your foot a little further forward so it feels more comfortable, more stable for your hips, knees and pelvis. So I'm going to suggest that this right knee is roughly over the right ankle. And what that does is it helps to create space for this pelvis to be on a slight diagonal. So you leave the pelvis here on the diagonal, knee over the ankle, and there's just a little twist here, turning the chest to face lengthwise along the long edge of my mat here. I'm going to reach the arms up to shoulder height, having a look at the hands, check they're at shoulder height, and we're in our warrior two pose. So we take a moment here to try and feel really strong, really confident, really stable through our feet, imagining that you're a warrior. And then tilting the right side of your pelvis down and the left side of the pelvis up, we're going to rest the right forearm on the right thigh as we reach that left arm all the way up over by the ear. And this is our side angle pose. Can you once more find that stable foundation through the feet, through the center of the heels, through the balls of the feet, big toe, little toe edge? Can you find easy, steady, comfortable breathing? Let's look down at the floor and we'll push through that right foot to lift ourselves back up through standing. We're going to pivot those right toes forwards so that both feet are now parallel facing forwards. Have a look at your feet. If they're a bit wonky, move them so that they are parallel and taking your hands onto your hips. So let's find a neutral spine forward fold to begin, and then we're going to round at the bottom. We'll bend the knees, and as you fold forwards, keeping your head in line with your heart and your pelvis. So there's going to be a point at which you can't stand neutral anymore, and that's the point at which you might like to round your spine, taking the hands down towards the floor. And just bend your knees enough that you can get your hands comfortably down on the floor. Once the hands are down, maybe you want to have a little play around at the bottom here, bending one knee and encouraging the other leg to straighten, or even just keeping both knees bent, or maybe even straightening both legs. You can just take a few moments, a few breaths to explore how your hips, knees and ankles are feeling today. And then everybody, let's bend both knees and take both hands onto the hips and push your feet into the floor to lift all the way up into standing. So I'm just going to pivot to the other side, but if you can't see me now, if you're turning to face away from me, just flip yourself around so that you can still see. I've got my left hip, left knee, left toes, and they're all tracking in line with each other. And again, on this side, you can take your feet wider, narrower, and further away from each other. So have a play around. Everybody's body is different and unique. Find what feels most steady and stable for you. With the main cueing technique, having that left knee over the left ankle, that's going to help you to find the right position for your pelvis. So keeping the pelvis on the slight diagonal, but turning your chest towards the long edge of the mat and then reaching your arms up to shoulder height into warrior two on the opposite side. Let's have a look at the hands once more, checking that they are roughly at shoulder height. And once more, can you imagine or visualize yourself as a strong, confident warrior? You're feeling really steady, really stable through the tripods of both feet. Now let's tilt the left side of the pelvis down and the right side of the pelvis up to lean over into our side angle pose. So we're taking that right arm up over by the ear and the left forearm on the left thigh. And once more, I want to really push through both feet equally. So I'm trying to find and explore this firm foundation of my feet so that I can feel really steady, really stable here. I want my breath to be comfortable and easy, so just back off out of the pose at any point if you need to. Let's look down at the floor. We'll push that left foot into the floor to lift ourselves back up into standing. And then I've pivoted on the left heel, turning the left toes forwards so that both feet parallel once more. And again, if you need to adjust your feet, move them so that it feels like the stance is comfortable for you. You can leave your hands on your hips, or to add an extra load, we can reach the arms out to the sides as we come through that neutral spine forward fold. So let's bend the knees a little again. To keep the head in line with the heart and the pelvis, neutral spine. Just take a couple of breaths in that neutral spine forward fold, reminding ourselves what it feels like in our warrior three. Well, this is just like a wide leg version of it. And then we're going to come into that deep spinal flexion, rounding the spine, taking the head and the hands towards the floor. So just bend your knees enough that you can get your hands towards the floor, so that you can start to bend one knee and straighten the other leg, and then bend the other knee and straighten the other leg. Or just have a little play around here at the bottom, however it is that feels best for you. Okay. Let's everybody bend the knees, take the hands onto the hips, push the feet into the floor, and lift all the way up into standing. I'm going to toe heel your feet all the way back in. And again, let's take a couple of hip circles here. Once more, sending our mind into our pelvis, knowing that we want this freedom in the pelvis and this connection between the pelvis, the spine, the neck, and the head. So let's circle in the opposite direction. Okay, so we're going to work between warrior three and that knee tap. We've done this before. And I want to work really dynamically, so I'll show you and just join in once you've got the hang of it. We're going to stick with the same side for a few rounds, so feel free to watch and then join in whenever you're ready to have a go. So I'm going to step my right foot forwards here, and I'm on the ball of the back left foot. And as I lean forwards, I've got this neutral spine, so the head is in line with the heart and the pelvis, and the left leg is reaching out behind me. As I bring this left knee forwards, I'm going to tap right hand to left knee. I'm going to reach the left leg behind into warrior three. I'm going to do this twice more. So I bring the knee forwards, left knee forwards, and tap right hand to left knee. I'm going to reach the left leg behind, leaning forwards, warrior three. And then I'm going to tap my right hand to my left knee, and I'll lower the foot down. Let's do that on the other side. So we step the left foot forwards and the right foot back. Let's reach the arms up to shoulder height. We're leaning forwards with this neutral spine. So I'm exhaling forwards into my warrior three. Right leg is behind. And I'm inhaling, lifting up into standing, tapping left hand to the right knee. Exhaling, leaning forwards into my warrior three. Arms out to the sides. Inhaling, tapping right knee to left hand, but you might be moving slower or quicker than I am. Remember to find the tripod of that standing left foot. Keep looking at something steady on the wall or the floor to help with your balance. Let's do that one more time. Great, good job. We'll place the foot down. And we'll give our legs a little shake because there's quite a strong challenge for the legs. Okay, now I want to make warrior three a bit more challenging, but in a static movement. So you've got a couple of choices now. If you've got a blanket, a cushion, or a pillow nearby, you could stand on your blanket or your cushion or your pillow, because this is still an uneven surface in comparison to the mat. So if you want to make it a little easier, use a cushion or a blanket. If you're feeling like your balance has been pretty good so far over the course, and you really want to challenge your balance now, you can roll up your mat if you are using a mat. Obviously, if you don't have a mat, then use that cushion, pillow, or blanket. So I'm going to roll my mat up. You can just fold or roll your blanket. Whether you're standing on a blanket, a cushion, or a mat, let's find the tripod of that right front foot once more. So finding center of the heel, the ball of the foot, big toe, and the little toe. So I'm standing with my right foot on either the mat, the blanket, or the cushion. And I'm just going to lift my left foot away from the floor for a few moments here so that I notice how wobbly it is standing on an uneven surface, whether that's a mat, a blanket, or a cushion. And I'm really interested in that wobble because that is my proprioceptive system, vestibular system, telling me, okay, this is an uneven surface. This is hard for me to stay steady and stable on. So I'm just going to counterbalance like we were learning earlier. And then I'm going to keep bringing you back through center. Great, let's place that foot down. We'll swap the feet. So I've now got my left foot on my mat. You might have your left foot on your blanket or your cushion or your rolled up mat. I'm going to lift the right foot away from the floor. Now I'm not trying to wobble here. I'm not wobbling on purpose. What I'm doing is I'm just using my arms and my leg to help counterbalance me so that I don't fall over. So each time I'm feeling a little wobbly, I'm just swaying myself slightly forwards or backwards, bringing myself back through center so that I'm trying to avoid putting the right foot on the floor. My breath steady and comfortable. Great, and then let's lower the arm and the leg. Now if that's enough for you, you can repeat that again if that's a useful, interesting exploration for you. If you want to turn this into your warrior 3, I'll show you from side on, you can do, you don't have to, totally optional. So I'm going to reach my arms out to the sides. I've got my right foot on the mat, or for you, the blanket or the cushion. And as I lean forwards, maybe I don't go quite as far as I did before because it's wobbly. So I've got my head in line with the heart and the pelvis, that neutral spine. The other leg is reaching out behind. I might take a few breaths here and then lift myself back up into standing. We're going to take that a few times on both sides. So you just work at a speed that feels good for you. And if you're a bit wobbly, come back up and swap sides and have another go. So I'll keep going too. I'm going to swap feet. So I've got my left foot on the mat now, arms out to the sides. I'm looking at something steady on the floor. Got the tripod of that foot really anchored into the mat. Maybe I don't lean so far. Maybe I'm really up for a challenge and I want to lean quite far. Neutral spine as I lean forwards. And then lifting back up through center. Maybe you give yourself a shake. Hip circle, shoulder circles, whatever it is that you need. I'd love for us all to do this once more on both sides. So I'll join along with you. I've got my right foot now on the blanket, mat, cushion, whatever it is that you're standing on. And I reach the arms out to the sides. I'm anchoring through the tripod of that standing foot as I lean forwards with my neutral spine. I'm going to take a few breaths in the balance. And I am really wobbly, but that's okay because I keep bringing myself back through center. And then I'm going to lift, pushing that right foot into the floor to lift myself all the way back up. Okay, I'm going to swap sides. So I've got the left foot on my mat now. You might have your left foot on your blanket or your cushion. Arms out to the sides and just watching your breath. Watching your body. What is it that you're experiencing? We lift back up through standing. And again, give yourself a shake, a rock, some hip circles, shoulder circles, whatever it is you need. If you've used a mat like me, you're going to want to unroll your mat now, or just move your blanket, your cushion out to the side. We're going to roll back down through downward dog. So let's stand at the back edge of the mat. We're going to tuck the chin in towards the chest. We bend the knees. Head is heavy, arms are heavy. We're going to roll down each vertebra of the spine at a time. Take your time. How is your back feeling? We've done so much of that neutral spine. It's lovely to do some of this deep spinal flexion. And then let's pad your hands forwards. Walking on the spot. Seeing how the back of the body feels. Let's lower the knees down onto the floor. And I want to fold the arms, taking your fingers towards the opposite elbow. Reaching your hands forwards, interlacing the hands. I'm now on the forearms with the little finger tucked into the cup of the hands. Now, just like last week, if you found dolphin pose too tricky, instead, come back up onto the palms, tuck the toes, and play around with your downward dog here instead. You're still getting loads of stretch at the back of the body and that shoulder mobility. But if you're happy to have a go at your dolphin pose, then we're folding the arms with fingers to the outer edge of the elbows. Interlacing the hands, tucking the toes, lifting the knees, and your bum goes high up to the ceiling towards the back of the room. So I'm looking in between my feet, and I'm just going to take a few breaths here in this static dolphin pose. Noticing how the back of my body feels. Can I really push through my fingers, forearms, elbows? Great. Let's lower the knees down onto the floor. We'll set your bottom back towards your heels and the head down on the floor. Arms might be out in front, or arms might be down towards your feet, wherever it is that feels comfortable for your shoulders. I'd love to do that twice more today. So if you're really enjoying staying in your child's pose, you can stay there and spend extra time resting. Again, that reminder, you could come into downward dog instead with the hands and the feet shoulder width, hip width apart. Or if you're joining me in dolphin, taking the fingers to the outer edge of the elbows, interlacing the fingers, tucking the little finger into the cup of the hands, tucking the toes, lifting your knees, then your bottom goes up towards the ceiling. Now, if you want to make this a little more challenging, you walk your feet a little closer in towards your elbows, but keep your bum lifting up to the ceiling and towards the back edge of your mat. Head is not on the floor, head is lifted away from the floor. Keep breathing, keep pushing the hands, the forearms into the floor. And then let's lower the knees to the floor. Take your bum back towards your heels, head towards the floor. Arms are either out in front or down by the sides of the body. Connecting with your breath. Body, mind, and breath all working together. One final time. We lift back up. So you can stay in your child's pose if you want. You can come into your downward dog if you want. Or we fold the arms, taking the fingers to the outer edge of the elbows, interlacing your hands, taking the toes, lifting the knees. Hips and bum go high. Lifting your bottom towards the ceiling, maybe walking the feet in towards each other and lifting one leg behind. Come into this three-leg dolphin pose. Lace that foot down and then lifting the other leg behind and lower it down. And let's do that once more, both legs. Lovely. And then lower your knees down and come back to rest on your bottom with your head down on the floor. Placing your arms wherever it is that feels great for your shoulders. Let's lift up into sitting. So we'll stretch the legs around to the side and out in front. Now if you find that the back of your thighs, knees, calves are tight all through the class, of course you can sit on a cushion or a blanket, and that is going to lift your hips up and it's going to take a little bit of that sensation out of the backs of the legs. Equally, you can have your knees bent here, like this, if you're struggling to sit up with straight legs. So this is another great option. We're going to shuffle your bum out behind you, and what that's doing is helping us to find this pelvic tilt we explored at the beginning of the class. So we want for the tailbone to be able to reach out behind, so that we're finding this forward fold here from your hips and pelvis. We'll take the feet together, legs out in front, and as you walk your hands down your legs, let's take a few breaths in this neutral spine forward fold. So once more, head in line with the heart and the pelvis. And what that means is that you might not fall very far at all, and that's okay. So we're interested in the sensation down the back of the body. Can you connect with your breath now that we're in a more static pose? Maybe it's easier for you to watch your breath as it enters and leaves your body. And then let's walk the hands back in. Reach the hands behind, give your legs a little shake. We're going to do that same forward fold, but with a rounded spine. So we take the legs together. Then again, it's okay to forward fold with bent knees here. If you need to have bent knees, you go for it. Otherwise, shuffling your bum out from behind you. And as you take yourself forwards this time, you can just round your spine, taking your head closer towards the legs. There's no need to push or pull or strain here. Can you make it just a really easy, comfortable position? If it's not comfortable, feel free to bend your knees. Feel free to back off out of the pose a little, lift a little higher. Take a couple more breaths here. And then let's walk the hands back in. So we want both of those movements. We want this neutral spine forward fold, and we also want to be able to find that flexion. We're going to roll onto our back now. So rolling onto your side, and from your side, sliding onto your back. I'm going to add a little hamstring work into our bridge pose. So just like the bridge we did at the beginning of the class, if you want to reach the arms over by the ears like we did, you can go for it. If you need a bit of stability to keep the arms down by the sides, that's a little easier. Choice is yours. So let's soften the lower back towards the floor, and as you push your feet into the floor, reaching the arms all the way up to the ceiling and all the way over your head. We're in this bridge pose like at the beginning of the class, but this time, don't move your feet, but pull your feet towards your head. So you're sending your mind into your feet. And as you pull with the heels towards your head, you should feel the back of the body working quite strongly here. So some sensation there at the back of the body. Not pain or discomfort, but just the muscles working hard. And then let's roll back down, taking the hands back up to the ceiling, lowering through your upper back, middle back, lower back, coming all the way down, taking a few breaths rest at the bottom. Maybe even hugging the knees into your belly and your chest and giving yourself a rock from side to side. Let's do that twice more. So if you want to stick with a rolling bridge like we did at the beginning of the class, you're really welcome to. If you want to do this hamstring bridge, then we're softening the lower back to the floor, and then we're peeling up through your bottom, lower back, middle back towards your upper back, reaching the hands all the way over by your ears. And at the top of your bridge, you pull your heels towards your head, but you still want to be able to breathe. So make sure you can still breathe. The pose is reasonably steady and stable. Pull. The feet don't actually move in space. We're just increasing that sensation, building a bit of strength through the back body. Let's lower back down through your upper back, your middle back, your lower back, coming all the way back down. And again, either just resting there at the bottom or taking hold of your knees and your shins and giving yourself a little rock from side to side. Final time. So if you want to spend longer rocking, resting, you go for it. You're really welcome to. If you want to do a final bridge pose, pushing your feet into the floor, peeling up through your spine, reaching the hands up to the ceiling over by the ears, and then pulling your feet towards your head. Pull. Keep pulling, keep breathing. And then rolling back down through your spine. Releasing the arms down by the sides. A final hug, a final roll. Okay, so I want to add in a new layer to our lying down twist. It depends how much space you have as to whether you might stick with the twist that we've been working with previously. So I'll show you both versions and then you get to choose what you want to do. So I've got this blanket under my head. You might have a pillow or a cushion. You just want to find something to give your head a little bit of support here. And I've got my head in line with my heart and my pelvis once more. My knees up in line with the hips and the feet in line with the knees. So you're really welcome to keep working with this rainbow arc twist that we've been doing in previous weeks, with the arm reaching up to the ceiling And then taking the arm out behind and reaching the hand back up to the ceiling and all the way down towards the bottom hand. I'm going to shuffle myself a tiny bit further forward so I've got a bit more space here. Okay, so you can keep working with that one. Or this time, you can take that top arm and you reach the top arm all the way over your head, but along the floor, towards the top edge of your mat. All the way out behind you, along the floor. It's okay if it doesn't stay on the floor, it's just moving in that direction. Taking that top arm down towards your hip and thigh and around towards the bottom hand. So just trailing the right fingers along the floor as much as possible, up over by the top edge of your mat and your head and your ear, all the way up behind you, all the way down towards your bottom, your pelvis, and the right thigh. Like a big circle. Let's do that one more time. So my head and neck are just rolling with the movement. I'm encouraging the top knee to lift if that's what it needs to do to help that hand stay near the floor. And I've got the steady, comfortable, easy breathing. Now the next time that top hand comes onto the bottom hand, we are going to reverse the direction. So staying on the same side, but I take that top hand down towards the thigh and my buttock. I reach the top arm out behind me. I reach the top arm all the way over my head and back around towards the bottom hand. I'm going to do that twice more on this side. So the top hand down towards the thigh and the buttock, and I'm reaching that top arm out behind me and all the way around and up over the head until it touches the bottom hand. So whenever you finish this last movement, you can come to roll onto your side and you can turn yourself onto your opposite side. I'm going to flip myself around so you can still see me, but you can just turn from one side to the other. Or if there's any furniture in the way, you can shuffle yourself into a slightly better position. So I'm checking that I've got my head in line with the heart and the pelvis. I've got my knees up in line with my hips and my feet in line with the knees. Top hand, both arms are outstretched, and I'm reaching that top hand up over by the top edge of the mat, up over by my head and ear, and I'm reaching that top arm out behind me and all the way down towards my buttock and my thigh and back round towards the bottom hand. I'm just encouraging my head and my neck to roll with the movement. Top knee lifts for me to create a bit more space to keep that hand reaching towards the floor. Breath is easy and comfortable. And again, if I'm feeling any tension here in my neck and shoulders doing a lot of computer work, this is one that I will tend to do in isolation. I will just kind of get myself cozy and comfy on the floor and do a few of these on both directions. And then my neck and shoulders feel much better at the end of it. So I'm going to reverse that direction now. Same side, but I take that top hand down towards the thigh and buttock, and I'm going to reach the arm out behind me. I'm going to take it all the way up over by my head and ear and back around towards the bottom hand. And I'm going to do two more in this direction. Taking the top hand towards the thigh, out behind me, all the way up over by the ear and round. Last one. And now I'm ready for my Shavasana or relaxation. So I'm going to roll onto my back, and just a reminder, you might like to make any movements here. You could do another hug, you might take a full body stretch, there might be something else that your body really wants to do. You could put socks and jumpers on. Maybe you want to have your legs outstretched, arms outstretched, palms up or down, hands on the belly. Maybe you want to have bent knees. You can continue lying on your side or roll onto your front. The idea of the relaxation is that it wants to feel really cozy, really comfortable for you so that you can rest down into the ground for the next 7 minutes or so. So I wanted to give you a really full relaxation today, so you have the time to settle yourself deeply down into the earth and really connect inwards with your body, your breath, your mind, your emotions, your spirit, your energy. So get yourself warm and cozy, get yourself some water, whatever it is that you need, so that you feel like you can really rest down now for the next few minutes. And once you're in a comfortable position, closing your eyes or looking softly at the ceiling, checking that you're not clenching your jaw, taking a slight gap between your teeth with your tongue lying heavy on the base of your mouth. Settling all of your muscles and bones and organs down into the ground beneath you. Can you trust the weight of your body down into the earth? Just noticing if you're holding on to any unnecessary tension. Maybe it's habitual patterns of tension, like pinched shoulders or clenched fists. Just noticing those areas that feel a little tense and tight and inviting them to let go of that tension. Encouraging your body to settle down into the ground. Trusting that the earth will support the weight of the body as you lie here. And then taking your awareness to your breath and noticing your inhale, the slight pause, your exhale, and the still point. Breathing at a depth and a rhythm that works really nicely for you. And watching the journey of your breath down in through your nose, into your lungs and ribs. And as you inhale, the lungs and ribs expand outwards. They get bigger in all directions like a balloon. And as you exhale, the lungs deflate a little and the ribs knit back in towards each other. The air leaves out of your nose or mouth. As you inhale, the lungs get bigger, the ribs get bigger. It creates space for your respiratory diaphragm muscle to dome downwards. Your pelvic floor diaphragm also domes downwards. And that moves all your abdominal and pelvic organs around. And that's what lifts the belly away from the spine. As you exhale, your lungs deflate a little, ribs knit back in towards the center of the body. That pulls your respiratory diaphragm muscle back up into the ribcage. Pulls your pelvic floor diaphragm back up. All of your abdominal pelvic organs end up back where they started. So when we're breathing in this way, it's really calming for our body, our nervous system. It's helping to improve our circulation, helping to improve our lymph. So even if this is the practice that you take away from the course, know that you have this anchor of your breath always with you. It's always there to support you, to help you feel calmer, more connected to yourself. Your body, your mind, your breath, they're all part of you. They're all intricately connected. So as you inhale, you watch the lungs expand, the ribs expand, the respiratory diaphragm muscles Muscle domes downwards, your pelvic floor, diaphragm muscle domes down. And that moves all of your abdominal and pelvic organs, lifting them away from the spine. As you exhale, lungs deflate a little, ribcage knits back in towards the center of the body. Respiratory diaphragm muscle gets pulled up into the ribcage. Pelvic floor diaphragm gets pulled up. All of your abdominal and pelvic organs end up back where they started. Noticing how easy or difficult it is to keep your mind focused on your breath. For all of us, our minds are constantly wandering, so it's perfectly normal if you're finding that your mind is moving off to other thoughts. But each time you notice that happen, can you bring your mind back to your breath, back to this journey of the breath? And you become aware of the relaxation coming to a close now. You're aware of your body breathing. Maybe you say silently to yourself, I am breathing. Remembering that deep connection whenever you need it, whenever you're feeling a little stressed or anxious, sad, angry, overwhelmed. Your breath is always there to support you. And start to wriggle your fingers and toes a little here, moving your tongue around inside of your mouth. Noticing any tastes in your mouth, any smells around you, noises inside or outside of the room that perhaps you weren't aware of before. Feeling the touch of your clothes and blankets on your skin. Maybe making some larger movements with your body, taking a stretch. Maybe giving yourself a hug and a rock. Whenever you're ready, rolling over onto your side. And using that top hand to press into the floor, sliding the top leg away from you to bring yourself into sitting. We'll end the class there. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. Thank you.